Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Flynn.
I love my new intro, eh? I really do. It's cold, man. It's cold, but we're going to get into this. Alright. What's up, everybody? It's Herschel Flynn from High School Top 200, and welcome to the Monday morning meeting. And if you haven't been here before, welcome to everybody that's come along, all the new parents and grandparents and friends and girlfriends and, I know, boyfriends, whatever you identify as, thems and theys and that's and everybody, boys and girls, whatever. Welcome to High School Top 200. Have a look at HS top200.com. I know it's still not working sometimes. I'm trying to hit up my man Abdullah, who's been fixing my stuff, who's done actually really good, and it's just all these little things that's going on, and they found a big massive problem. So a big shout out to them, and thank you for everything that they're doing and continue to do. And I hope everybody is just tries to remain as patient as possible, even though I know your frustrations, because I feel the frustrations as well. I know your one account doesn't work, but I'm getting 12 of them a day that are saying that it works, it sometimes doesn't work, and it does work, and then it doesn't, and then that's pretty frustrating for me, because then I have to relay that onto my dude Abdullah and hope that he gets it fixed with him and his team. And just remember that this has been passed over from the last person that did it, and so they're cleaning up a bunch of stuff. And I'm pretty frustrated that I can't do it myself, and so that's the other thing that kind of gets to me too, that I can't fix the problem myself, or even kind of really understand what they're going through in terms of doing it. But that's what they do. It's been a pretty good week in terms of rugby as well. Oh, first off, obviously go and do the like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff, and anyone that's interested in First 15 Rugby, put them onto this page, put them onto this platform and to this podcast, and all those other things that I do represent and try and get around to see as much as I can, just so that I can show everyone the different sides of First 15 Rugby. Obviously, I do like to go out and watch all the big teams that play, but there are some small teams that I do, if I can get around to them, I'll go and watch. Just like I did this Saturday. I really didn't have to do it. I left Hamilton at like 6 o'clock to make sure I was up there on time at Alfriston College to watch them against Tuakau, and that was at 9 a.m. So that's 9 a.m. over to Rosmini. After that game, then to St. Peter's to watch the Auckland Rugby game. So I do like to kind of spread it out as much as I can. But just to show everyone what kind of rugby we have all over the country as well. So anyone that's interested in First 15 Rugby, I am the only one that does First 15 Rugby consistently throughout the country, all over the place where I can. And so, sometimes I get a bit annoyed and surprised at, and I don't know what, and I do know what it is. And it's not like the first time that's happened to me. So, all these, obviously, if you wanted to know about First 15 Rugby, you're not going anywhere else except for me. Even the guys that go on TV look at my stuff and ask me for help. And do I feel slighted? Of course, man. Of course. Like, who else has got close to what I've got in terms of First 15 Rugby? And I have to be somewhat arrogant or somewhat borderline arrogant and confident in what I got, because who else talks to about this much? Who else puts this much dedication into this much? So whenever I see articles or whenever I see write-ups of First 15 Rugby, my first question is, why didn't you guys come to me? Why did you go to that dude? because I know who that guy is. He doesn't know that much about first team rugby. He's probably just regurgitating what I've said, which I have seen too, and which I have seen done over the years. And so, like, that kind of thing does annoy me. And then, to me, it's more disrespect than anything else, because I put so much work into this, and I put so much care into what I'm doing and saying in terms of this kind of stuff too. And I think I'm the only one that can really talk about first team rugby from top to bottom, kind of thing. And so I think that if you're just doing a game review on something, that's fine, because you went and watched the game. Anyone can do that, right? But when you start talking about teams from around the country, there's no kind of grid for that kind of stuff. It's me. I'm the one that makes that up. I'm the one that goes around and goes, well, this team has this team has this team has that, they don't have this team does something different, this part of the country plays the game like this, and there's so many different things, but no one ever like kind of puts it all together and from one place to another, because they don't watch it that much like I do, right? And everyone knows I've been doing this for 7-8 years now. I've seen what teams and schools do consistently from year to year, and I know kind of how they function in terms of gameplay. Even though coaches, and this is one thing that I kind of noticed too, even though coaches get changed out a lot, sometimes the style does not change. And I think that kind of comes with the terms of, it comes because of the type of player they get from those areas, you know. So sometimes they have no choice but to play that same kind of style of play, because they don't have the kind of players to play what they really want to play. So sometimes it doesn't really matter. And like, I guess in a way it takes a while for you to sort of change out the style within the whole school. And I've said this before, like, if you want to really change something in the school, you're going to have to get every coach from under 14s all the way up to first 15 and go, hey, this is the way that we're playing now. Whatever you guys did back then, I don't want to do that. So all these under 14 guys and under 15 guys start coming through. They're all coming with the same style that you've actually been teaching, and then by then you'll have the guys that you playing the style that you want to play. And then to me, that's how you change that kind of stuff. And so you know, like, I've noticed those kind of things happening throughout me doing this. And so yeah, I get kind of, it's a touchy subject for me when I see magazines and I see articles and I see people talking about it. Like, man, you don't know. I understand how much work goes into this, and trust me, you're not doing that work, because if you are, you would have your own website, and me and you will be able to sit down and have a conversation about this in terms of people and players and coaches and winning and losing and styles and all that kind of stuff with me. And I don't have anyone to talk to in the country that can do exactly that. I can talk to people from areas and go, oh, I'll talk about your area. And people that have come onto my website and they have talked to me in my, you know, Facebook page, or people have come and seen me at games that come talk to me. And that's the other thing. If you want to come have a conversation, come have a conversation. I love to have a conversation with anyone. If you see me at your games, just come over, have a chat. I love doing that. But people know that when I've stood with them on the sidelines, or if they've like emailed and messaged me, we have conversations about it where they're going both ways, and we're talking about the same kids. I'm not always asking like, what is this kid like? What does he do? What is this? Sometimes I ask you, what do you think he's like? Because I'll give my answer too. And that's a conversation. It's not always one way. And so, like, I don't know anyone in the country that's like me, where they can go anywhere and start talking about any kind of competition. And because I know how much work that goes into it, right? I know that kind of sounded like a big Suki Baba cry about, I guess, that subject that I'm really passionate about, but it's truth. You know, it's the truth. That's exactly what I think. That's exactly how I feel. And sometimes that's exactly how it goes on. And I'm sick of seeing it, to be honest. because it is pretty disrespectful in a way. And I don't know why, publications and media and all those guys don't come to me even for help. I mean, man, I know that my style of writing is terrible because I write the way that I talk, and it's not the way that it's supposed to be done in media. But hey, have you seen some of those kids' YouTube channels and the way that they play with stupid toys and stuff like that? They can get millions. It's like, yeah, they're out of that. Media's not done that way anymore. Like, you don't have to talk like a reporter or a writer or a journalist. You don't have to talk like that anymore. Commentators don't talk the way that they commentate. So why would you? It's just like, have you ever spoken to like Ken Laban and and Mills Molina and them? It's like, they don't talk like that in real life. Like, Ken Laban's not talking to you like he's like commentating on the way that you're walking and going into a shop and how you hold your keys, walking your guns. It's like, man, he just has a proper conversation. And that's just the way that I write, and that's the style, because I'm not, I didn't study for this kind of stuff. I guess, got sick of the world and how the world was, and I just saw something that I thought was a need, and so I just jumped on it and thought, see how it goes. Now I've got thousands and thousands of followers, so yeah, it's pretty good. And I'm loving this, and I love it all the time. It may not be financially successful like a lot of you guys think it is, and a lot of you guys think it is, but I do love it all the time. I do love this level of First 15 rugby, and I do love talking about all the stars that are coming up before they come up. That's what it is. I like talking about them before they come up. And I get to see everyone. That's what I like about it. I like to watch Super Rugby and then see them again, but in professional uniforms, and guys that were just wondering if they were going to make New Zealand Barbarians or under 18s Chiefs or under 18s Highlanders, to now trialing for New Zealand under 20s and making it there, and then make it into a roster for Super Rugby, which is cool. Getting into the NRL, which is cool, and I get to watch them again and stuff like that. Yeah. But I have some other stuff that I want to talk about, because there has been a lot of games, and a lot of the game started on Monday, right? And the first game that was on Monday was the Wide Upper one against Tower, which I thought was kind of strange, because Wide Upper and that were playing to get into the Premier 1 or Division 1 or whatever they want to call it in Wellington, but then they lost twice. They had to play 2 games in a week with playing Tower, and then the second game that they played, and this is to make it in the top, and it's funny to see, because I've always seen Wide Upper as a Division 1 kind of team, but over the years, but them winning against Tower, but then losing against St. Bernard's, and then now you're going to see them in their second division. It's going to feel kind of weird, and I think it's going to be kind of imbalanced, right? But then to play 2 games in 1 week was that's harsh, man. I think it is kind of harsh, It's not like the normal thing you do, so it's going to be hard for them to get up, and that, I mean, because then that means you play, you recover, you either have a physical, you have that day rest, you either have a physical training, then a run-through training, then a walk-through training, or it depends how, because I don't know how Wide Upper trains, whether they do, the normal 2 trainings a week, or if they do 3 trainings a week, or 3 trainings in 2 mornings, or something like that. So, but it does take a toll on them, and I don't know why the reason that is that they played it like that, but I thought it was kind of unfair and a shot sort of at their chances. But then again, it's like, because it's like whoever wins goes through, I think is what it was. And even, I mean, if they beat St. Bernard's will be the one too. They'll be looking as oof. St. Brendan's is a pretty good side too, and both of those teams, either one which would have missed out, would have been pretty gutting. Yeah, would have been pretty gutting. And then Hibs is the other one that made it through. And Hibs played on Tuesday, so it's hard for them. And that was the other one that I didn't get to. It was just like, well, you're making Whited Up and Tower play on the Monday. Then you're making, and then Hibs had a game on Tuesday against Rathkill, which they lost 21-7. But then they had to go up, and then they played. And then they ended up playing. Let me see, who was it? Oh, and then they played Tower, and then. Obviously Tower had to sort of back themselves up from Whited Up as well, and losing 2 times in a week to 2 really good teams, but then Hibs turned around and beat Tower 45-19, and so obviously Tower, Hibs got through, and then they're back in that Division 1, but. And like I said, I don't know what happened, but I would have thought that you would be able to clear stuff like that so they didn't have to, double up on that week, because everyone's trying to stay. Oh, well, you'd think everyone's trying to stay in that Division 1. You would think that anyway. I don't know. But that's kind of how it turned out for them. The other big game was at New Plymouth and Auckland Grammar. Auckland Grammar had a chance to play 2 top 10 teams in the country, that being New Plymouth ranked 7th, and St. Peter's ranked 3rd. And I think had a chance at beating both of them. Now, this may kind of seem pretty harsh, but I don't think that I'm out of line, and I don't think that I'm thinking anything different from what Auckland Grammar are thinking themselves. But they lost that game for themselves. They had it right there, scoring 2 real easy tries right in the beginning. They were pretty much dominating in the forward pack. They had really quick ball, and they had a lot of chances to attack. And to me, they kind of took all of them in that first half. And then they were up 24-7 or 5. I can't remember if he kicked it. I think he did kick it. But they were up 24-7 at halftime. And then the whole thing just turned around. And it sort of seemed like Grammar just stopped and kind of quit, because there weren't even chances that they were going to score again. They didn't even really. There wasn't a lot of threat coming in that second half from them. A lot of it was they would make it down into the red zone and then just be turned straight away and going back. Like, there was no consistent banging on the line or really even plugging in the corners or anything like that to keep them down there. New Plymouth just went all the way through them, and Grammar just looked off in that second half. It looked off. It didn't even look the same, right? Like, I thought Gage Jackson was playing really well. I think Riley was playing really well. The kicking wasn't too great downfield. I wasn't a fan of that. I thought Joel and John Boy in the midfield should have got a lot more ball. Maybe some plays caught for them. Something like that. Onga should have probably got a bit of more runs as he's the prop. Probably should have got a lot more runs. Him and Josh, just some big boys just really putting up. But I mean, like, Shea again had a massive game, Samuel played really good. Jacob Mitchell was really good. Sam Vakatola was playing really good. He was the other one. Topia was great too. Like, and so like, and I'm not saying that New Plymouth didn't do their thing. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying Auckland Grammar just turned off at half time, and then they couldn't turn on again, and they didn't have any kind of threat. And then New Plymouth just had everything after that and just scored and just won the game straight. But pretty much in that second half, just came back in the second half and were the only one scoring, were the only threat to scoring. And then I kind of feel like Auckland Grammar took that same feeling that they had in that game and took it right into that St. Peter's game, which I went to, which I purposely went to because I wanted to see if they were going to turn around. I wanted to see if it was going to be different. I've been to about 4 of those matchups over the years, which I think is like a really good matchup. One of those yearly traditionals that's really good. I actually like that St. Peter's one better than the Kings matchup. That sort of tradition, I like that one better. But I wanted to see if Auckland Grammar did the same, could do, I guess, turn it around. But and I guess I'll talk about it now, but they didn't. They just didn't. And they didn't even look like they were going to. And that's the sad thing about it, is that the sad thing about it is that they didn't even look like they were going to start threatening a win. And I kind of have to get at St. Peter's a bit for this, right? And I was standing on the side for the Auckland Grammar supporters. All those boys just filed in behind me where I was standing, and them dudes were quiet, and they're never really quiet, and even their own guys were just like, what the hell is going on? Which is understandable because I was asking the same questions. But St. Peter's actually, and St. Peter's need to stop this. And they need to stop it at this game, this first game that they have, because I honestly think that they'll probably be in the finals with Kelston. I'm picking them right now as in being the finals with Kelston. Because I actually think that they're a bit better than what Kings is. I think they have more depth than what Kings does. I think they have a lot more firepower than I think what Kings does. They have a better all-round team than what Sacred Heart has. They have a lot more experience, which St. Kennigan's don't have. And they don't have the number 1 player and the number 4 player in the country, and AJ Faleafaga and also Jerry. So, like, I don't think that St. Peter's can afford to finish games soft. See, I think St. Peter's left some points on the field that day. AJ missing those kicks was really surprising, actually. Like, it's not really like him. Him missing those kicks, I thought there were 2 tries that they should have gotten that they didn't, and then there was 2 tries that came from Auckland Grammar where I think one of them was okay, but the other one shouldn't have happened, right? And to me, that was St. Peter's letting off. That wasn't Auckland Grammar scoring. And I think St. Peter's have got to play the full 70 minutes, even though they know that they're going to win that game, which they did. They can't take a step back, or they can't have that attitude of, it's all right, even if they score a couple, we're still going to win, we're safe. And I kind of think that they have to be sort of that mongrel where they're just like, whoa, we've got 24 points on them, we're going to make it 29, and then we're going to make it 35, and then we're going to make it this, and we're going to stop every single thing that they do. And we're going to play them like we're losing. Not playing them like we're 4 tries ahead. And even watching that Kelston game and what they did, and I'll get to that soon, but I think St. Peter's is probably the only team that could really make a push at Kelston right now. And even in the rankings, I guess, Hamilton Boys, St. Peter's, and after seeing Rotorua Boys, I think Rotorua Boys may be another one that will have a go at Kelston Boys too. And, yeah, it's just one of those things. Auckland Grammar got to pick it up. I don't know what's going on with them. They've got to sort something out. Whatever's happening with them, they've got to sort it out. They've got to figure out what's going on and, what direction they're going to go to. And if they play the way that they played against St. Peter's, against all the other teams, oh man, that's going to be a hard year for those guys. Because they weren't good. And I don't even think St. Peter's were going... I don't even think that was the best St. Peter's can play. Like I said, they were leaving some points out there. And like Jeremiah Ashley didn't even get the ball much. They were just doing it with everybody else. Imagine when Jerry gets that ball. And Jerry played good in the way that his defense was solid. He made a few good runs, but things weren't really called from him. They just used everything else. And he was basically the dummy, and it worked. Because everybody else was like making breaks, and he was the one just carrying it. He was just running forward, running in his lines. And AJ was skipping him, and everyone was so focused on him that they were making breaks on the outside too. And so, like, St. Peter's just have to play a full 70 minutes and not let off. Auckland Grammar has to do something different. Whatever's going wrong in their team, they got to figure that out. I have not seen a bad Auckland Grammar side. Actually, ever. I haven't, since I've started, I've never seen a bad one, Auckland Grammar side that didn't look like they could fix. Like, to me, it feels like there's something wrong and it's not getting addressed. But they got to fix it because it's only just started the season. It's only just the first game of the season, so they got to do something. And they're playing. And Grammar has to play Hamilton Boys soon. That is going to be an interesting one if they don't front up. Because Hamilton Boys are on a roll right now. And that's going to be a scary, scary scoreline if they don't sort it out. And like I've said before, Hamilton's not even good in the beginning of the season. They're still trying to figure it out because they don't really have that many preseason games. They've only played 3 games, I think, for this whole preseason. They played Westlake. They played St. Paul's, and they played Mags. And those are the only 3 games that they've had. Whereas others have already had 5 games by now. 6 games, some of them. So that's going to be interesting. I went down to Rotorua, watch what I could have played. And, it's Whangarei boys took this game. They weren't scheduled to play them. But Whangarei took this game because they got to play for the Moeska Cup, which is, and I think if I was Whangarei boys as well, I would have done the same. Because you never get that chance. You may never get a chance to... Some guys don't even see it. Some guys don't even know what it is and what it... Some guys don't know what it is or even what it looks like. That's how rare it is to play for this cup and even see this cup, because it may not even be on your island. And if it's on your island, it's probably with a team that you'd probably never play. And I mean, I think if I was a sports director or rugby director or head coach, I'm just finding out who's got the Moeska Cup and go, hey, spend one of those cup challenges on us. Because it's 6, I think. They need to do 6 challenges. And then all the home games. And then I think it's like 3 outside of your area or something like that. I don't know what the rules are on that. But Whangarei boys came down. Whangarei boys was really... they were a big side. And they matched up well physically. I mean, like, stature-wise, like, the size of their forwards were good. Like, they were big forwards. They had good sized midfield. Really good playmakers, but it just wasn't up to the challenge. Rotorua were just too fast, too controlled, really quick rucks, and great decision makers. And once Jericho York got the ball really on the out, right out on the edge, there's not a lot you can do against Jericho to stop him, So, I mean, Tume was, Puna was the fullback, which also opened up the game. I mean, Rotorua are just Rotorua, and they look like a contender. They look like a national contender, and they have to get through Hamilton boys. And these are kind of the times that I wish that the Nationals was an open thing. It wasn't set to your region. It wasn't set to the way that they're doing it, where one comes from the Blues and one comes from the Hurricanes and Chiefs and one from the South Island. I wish it was just a top 32 and that you just played whoever you got. All done by some kind of, just some kind of set that they had or setting that they had that you could play anybody, but it just didn't. And I think they have this thing where they think that Auckland teams are going to get like all 4 spots. And it's like, well, that's ridiculous. It really is. And most years it's not going to be like that at all either. Because you still have Hamilton boys. You still have Christchurch boys. You still have Otago boys. You still have Hastings and Napier. You still have St. Pat's Town and Silverstream. You still have Fielding. You still have St. Peter's School. You still have St. Paul's Collegiate. You still have, Timaru boys and Nelson College and, Southland boys and all these other schools that are around the country that are equally good and better than Auckland schools. And like I've argued before and said before, is that the most national titles have come from the Chiefs region, with Wesley and Hamilton boys and Rotorua boys having most of them. But they need to change the system. I think they need to change the system. Because Rotorua boys could be that. And they always have to run up against Hamilton boys. If Auckland had to go through Hamilton boys to get into the top 4, I bet you change it. I don't think anyone would want to come up through Hamilton boys. To get into the Nationals, that was the gatekeeper was Hamilton boys. And who else wants to do that? I'm not even a fan of Hamilton boys. Like I've said before, I hated them when I was at school. I still kind of hate them now in a way. But I'm not going to deny how good they are. That's idiotic. My pettiness is not that petty. Hamilton Boys is probably one of the greatest first 15s ever in New Zealand, along with probably Kelston, Wednesday, and Rotorua. You know? You can kind of joke. And this is like modern day stuff, like modern day first 15s. I'm not talking about all that stuff back in, you know, the 60s and 50s. And it's like, that was kind of rugby. That was kind of that. Rugby's a bit different now. The way it's done is different now. But that's just one of the things I was kind of thinking of. And after seeing them Rotorua playing, I was thinking, man, it would be pretty. It's pretty crappy that you just have to go through that one system, and that system is blocked by someone like Hamilton Boys. Yeah. But let's get to this, right? So Rotorua won, and it was going to be hard for Whangarei to come back, and even playing against, you know, on Saturday, after taking that trip, coming down, going all the way to Rotorua, going back home, and then they travelled again. They went to Takapuna, you know, coming from. Of course, it's going to be hard, and you know, it just wasn't their day on the Moeska Cup. But the next Moeska Cup, I think, is against St. John's on Wednesday. I think it is, and I'll either be going to that one or going to New Plymouth to go to watch Silverstream play New Plymouth Boys, and see how that goes. But I guess everyone that's got Sky watched it, or everyone that went to the game. But Kelston Boys, my number one team in the country, how would you describe it against St. Kennigan's, right? And I think no one likes St. Kennigan's. I mean, a lot of people don't like. I like St. Kennigan's. I like the players that they turn out. I like the boys that come from that school. I like the success that they've had. And I mean, like, private schools are all the same. Is that they offer good scholarships because they have the money to do it, but they have no depth at all. A lot of them don't have depth, and that's their problem. Boys' schools may go, you buy the players. Like, yeah, but you guys got a bunch of depth at your school. Like, there's a big gap between the first 15 at a private school and their second 15. There's a pretty big gap. Your first 15 against your second 15, sometimes it's not that big of a gap because you guys have so many good players. Private schools just don't have that. Now, Kelston Boys, to me, just bullied them. And it was hard to watch in a way because, for one, I know that the St. Kennigan's boys are young. Ben Aki was trying. I mean, he scored his try. He was trying. He made a really good break. Scrum was going backwards a bit against Tony, and it's so cool to see Tony tougher that he knows how to scrum now. And I'm not trying to be a clown, but he couldn't scrum last year. He was pushing, but that's all he was doing. He just pushed. Now he's got really good feet. He's got a good foundation. He's got good hips and knees, and back is straight. He's got shoulders up pushed back, chest is out. And he's got a good flat back, and he's just driving through. And it was so cool to watch him actually prop and actually play like a prop, which I was so impressed with. And that was my problem with him last year, making that New Zealand Barbarians, to me, is that he didn't deserve it. And he didn't deserve it because he wasn't even starting for Kelston last year. He was sometimes, but he was mostly coming off the bench. And the Blues took a chance on him, rightfully so, because you can see how much potential he has. But this Tony Tuffer now that I see is the New Zealand secondary school Tony Tuffer that you would like to see. Not the one from last year. that was to rugby league Tony Tuffa. But now, like, he didn't even get the ball that much. But if you frame everything that he did, he was so good. He was so good. I like this one that we have now. Stuff all the big, massive runs that he does. It's like, yeah, he'll get to that soon. He'll get to that soon. They'll start finding him when they need him. But him, Zion played really good. Centre played really good. Lawaki, Zion Ma'u played really good. JT, Bellamy Port played really good as well. I still like Kobe out there. Essendon played really good. And the thing is, and this is the thing, right, is that they did so much on that field, Kelston boys, and everyone's just looking like, oh, look at this team, blah, 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 whatever. Jacob Laban wasn't even there. Because he played league on Wednesday, I think, or Thursday. Dorian wasn't, not Dorian. Dominique wasn't there. No. I can't remember his last name. But Dominic wasn't there. Jacob Laban wasn't there. And Aubrey was the other player. The fullback wasn't there either. All guys that would have been part of this starting lot as well. And that's kind of scary, that because Dominique, I think, is going to make, he has that frame and that physicality and athleticism to be a New Zealand Barbarian player, maybe even New Zealand secondary school player. Zion Ma'u also has the same, but he's already signed by the Warriors, so they're not going to even see him. But his intimidation levels is high. Zion doesn't care who you are; he's smoking you, and he did a lot of those hits. And he was just getting, and that's why I want to see this matchup against them in St. Peter's, because those St. Peter's boys were the same, like, real physical guys. And that game was probably the one that everyone's going to want to go to. If that's the game that you want to see, everyone go to that game. Go to that St. Peter's and Kelston game. That game is going to be physical. And please, boys, don't fight. Don't ruin the good game by having a scrap, because that could lose you the game too. But just have a good game, because it's going to be a mean game. So, and you know, St. Kinnigan's just couldn't do anything. They really couldn't. Sam Howling was, as you know, just what you would expect one of the top players in the country to be like. He just did it. Centre played really good. Him and Zion, Zion and Sam and Essendon, probably those three, and probably Ben Aki was probably like the best on the day in that game. But it's like it's a great and scary indication of what Kelston boys is going to be like when they play you guys next. Whoever you are, that's what you're going to get. And if Kelston can just keep their heads a bit, keep that perspective on who they are, what they can be like as a team, and not spread off into this individualism that they've done in the past sometimes, they're probably going to remain unbeaten and probably going to be a national championship team, which is going to be scary. But I'm kind of glad that everyone can see why I put them as the number one team in the country from the beginning. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. St. Kitts just didn't have enough. They didn't have enough senior players, because St. Kitts is such a young team, and they're going to be a team that's going to be good next year. But this year they just didn't have it. It was just too hard for them to find even different spots and opportunities for them to even begin a kind of an attack. that they were keen on even trying to perform, and it's so hard to coach that. And I know how Tassessa did it and what he said, as they instructed them throughout the game. But it's hard to get young boys to step up like that when this team is so daunting and just coming in like waves. It's just hard. But I guess St. Kentigern's can get that game out of the way. I think St. Kent's played Auckland Grammar this week. I think it is. So Auckland Grammar's got to figure something out. But I went to that game. That was the second game. So St. Peter's and Auckland Grammar, the 29-10. That St. Bede's one, Nelson College was up at halftime, 14-0, and then they just didn't do anything. Now, they can't do that kind of stuff, especially at home. St. Bede's were the ones that travelled, so they'll be tired. But you can't do 14 points and then just relax. And they got to stop getting these close games that they're having too. And that forward pack has really got to start... I think stringing more phases together is what I didn't like about Nelson College. And then they have the players to do it, which is strange. They have the players to do it. And... they just don't, because their forward pack is so good. But that might be a worry. I mean, maybe just a little bit of worry, but that's kind of what I'm looking at them right now and sort of wondering is like how... they weren't supposed to blow out St. Bede's. That's not what I'm saying, but they should have won by a little bit more, I think. Especially when they weren't the ones that had to travel. St. Paul's won their game. St. Paul's number 6 St. Paul's in the country won their game against Rathkill. 38-8 was actually pretty good for Rathkill because they played a game already, and as a non-ranked team, they did pretty good. 38-8. A lot of people may not think so, but I know what the relationship has been, or what the team Rathkill has been in the CNI competition, and if you see it every year like I do. 38-8 is a pretty good score against someone like St. Paul's Collegiate. Now, the other Mags upsetting Sacred Heart was not something that I thought was going to happen. I actually thought it was going to be a closer game. A low-scoring game that was close, but I thought Sacred Heart was going to win, but Mags... just played through it and I guess gained a lot of confidence after playing Hamilton Boys, and started really believing in themselves. And I think they're off to such a great start, and against a great team like that, I think it's awesome for Mags. Kings won. Kings beat Old Ede at Old Ede's home ground. I love those new uniforms by Old Ede too. Love those uniforms. Such a good, great colour scheme and style to them. I know I've said something about their uniform in the past that, a lot of boys would message me and go, "Hey man, that's the jersey that we wear," and I apologise. I said, "Yep, you're right. I shouldn't, because that means something to someone." But the ones that they got now, I think, are great too. Hastings boys, Scott's had to pull out of the Hastings boys game. Too many injuries and stuff like that before their season, and that's understandable. Whanganui Collegiate came up to Cambridge to play St. Peter's School, but at St. Peter's won 28-15. St. Andrews beat Christchurch boys 24-13. And I was pretty unsure. I forgot again to do my predictions, but I wasn't quite sure if St. Andrews was going to beat Christchurch boys. I heard Torian went off and was just blowing up everybody on the field. Torian Barnes doing what I guess New Zealand reps do, and he had a massive game. It's a pretty long season in the I keep forgetting what it's called, Miles Toyota Championship, and so it is a loss, but it's not like an all-out season-ending kind of loss, and so it's going to be all right. But it's a great boost for St. Andrews too. So Stack's going to, I guess, really take that and be like, we got a team out of the way. That's kind of what it is. We got that team out. We got confidence out of the way. The other one was Palmy and Silverstream being so. Because Silverstream was killing them in the beginning, and then they made this big run back. This big catch up, and Palmy has been really good. Leo Gordon, their captain at second five, and then they got Tane Harvey at centre, have been a really good combination. Joe Simpson-Smith comes back next week, I was told, who's their captain in blindside. Such a good player as well. He's a young year 13 that could also come back next year, but he's such a good player, and they're still missing him. But this was one of the... And I wouldn't call it an upset because they're so closely ranked together that a 33-31 win to Silverstream is just a really good solid win. Showing that they still belong in that top 25. Giving some kind of, pride back to Wellington, the Wellington region in terms of playing, because these Wellington teams haven't been having a lot of success outside of Wellington itself, I guess you could say. Like Napier beat St. Patrick's Town 29-19. I wasn't really picking Scots to beat Hastings boys either, if they had played. To me it was just like... just not a really Wellington heavy kind of competition for other big schools around the country kind of thing. And I think it's just something that should be talked about and addressed within Wellington Rugby, with the low number of talents that they have coming out of there compared to over the past 10, 12, 15, 20 kind of years that they've had with such strong Wellington teams, that they're starting to fall away. And they got to do something about that, because it's just not what you're used to seeing, I guess. So I don't know, something's got to go through and pick out where it is, or where's it all going wrong kind of thing. Let's get through this. Timaru boys, who are looking so good this year, 45-12 over Waimea combined. Kings High School beating Johnny's, John McGlashan 36-24, which is... I was picking Kings to win. I didn't think it would be by that high of a score. I thought it would be more of a closer game, but I guess everyone's, still getting used to how things are going, and defense is hasn't really been locked in yet. So, that's kind of like a blow on the scoreline with how it's going. Westlake looks like again that they're going to be the top team in North Harbour. Whangarei just couldn't do it against Takapuna after that game on Wednesday. Travelled down and travelled back, and then travelled again to Takapuna. They lost 23-22, and they would have been pretty bashed up by a top 5 team in the country. So 23-22 losses to me is really respectable by a team that just had to travel so much. Massey High School beating Orewa College 26-10, and I thought that would be a closer game. I thought Orewa I thought that they were going to win that one, to be honest. I thought that they would have had that. Rosmini College against Manurewa. Here's my thing with Manurewa, right? And I was going to write about it anyway, but might as well just say it. And to me, Manurewa was a better team than Rosmini. My thing with Manurewa is that they had such a big dominating forward pack with so many good runners. Lenz came on in the second half. Daniel Langalang Slade was the main runner in the beginning, with Boston, who was playing at hooker. And then they had this prop who was a loose head prop with a black headgear, who were all really big runners, but the halfback was just slow. he would get to the bottom of the ruck, look this way, look like this, look back again, and then decide where to pass the ball. Running to the next ruck, he wasn't talking, he wasn't organising, he wasn't anything. And then he would stop, look this way, look like this, look back, and then decide where to go. Now by then, anybody, Turtles would gather a defence faster than how he was getting the ball out. Now his pass wasn't bad. Just his decision making was slow. Organisation wasn't there. But he has this big forward pack around him with so many runners. It's like all he had to do was like, bro, you're next. 3 right there, I'm coming now. Get it out there. Next one's, hey, you two come with me right now. There. You guys come here, set up the pod there, I'm skipping you guys, and then they're just gone. And the thing was that his pass was good. His just decision making was slow. And it was so frustrating watching on the sideline because I was like, look at all these massive dudes you get to choose from. And you're not getting it to them fast enough. And Rosmini was setting up. And Rosmini's 7 was playing really good. The 8 was playing really good. The 6 was great. I thought the hooker, I think he was a Japanese fellow that was on there first, was having a solid game. And they were just being able to make tackles. Because it just took so long. And the thing is that the 12 and 13, and 10, 12 and 13 were playing awesome as well. They just made these little mistakes that weren't doing them any favours. It wasn't just the 9. 9 was one problem. The 10, 12 and 13 was another problem in terms of making sure they didn't push that extra pass sometimes. They forced what they thought was maybe a 50-50 for it being actually a 70, a 30-70. And they would just push these passes or drop the ball or, right when they were in that position to score and they had Rosmini going back. And it saved Rosmini a lot. But this Manurewa team is a scary team to have, and once they sort their stuff out, and I'm sure they're going to watch their film that they have and identify where their problems are. That was just the problem that I thought. Now, I'm not saying that the boy plays like that. I'm just saying that that's how he played on that day. Now, if that's their game plan, then he's in the right. I'm just saying what I saw. But if that's his game, if that's the game plan that they said for him to do, then he's not in the wrong. He's just doing what he's supposed to do, like he's supposed to do. Like what the coaches ask from him, then that's what he does. I just saw it from a different side, and I thought they need to hurry up that ball because Rosmini's setting up too fast. And you got too many big holes coming, closing up even before you got some runners set to go. That was my thing. Rosmini just did their part and played well enough to keep that game in line. And if Rosmini had won, I would be like, yeah, maybe they should have, because they were leading for a long time. Rewatch scored that try right at the end. Like, that was just right at the end. And that's how they won the game. And it was like, they scored the try, then 2 minutes later, it was finished. But that was just one thing that I saw. All right, that was just one thing that I saw. Such a dangerous team. I think they can be a dangerous team. That's the only team that I can see right now that could match Westlake boys, and they got to get stuff fixed for that. They don't have to win. And this is the other thing. They don't have to win the first time they get against Westlake boys. They just need to see what they can do first up. Then they can wait till the finals and go, we'll catch them in the finals. Or in the second time they play them, because I think they run twice around in their competition. But they don't have to win the first game, but it's just like, well, we know what we can do now, and we're to go in against them. And they got to get one of those games. Okay, so that's the North Harbour. Then you got the 1A. Dilworth winning against Tangaroa, I think, is kind of an upset. I was actually picking Tangaroa to win that game, and Dilworth actually managed to get that one off. 51 That was a 1917 game. 51-16, De La Salle over Liston College. Otahu beat Southern Cross. This is in the 1B. I don't have an Onehunga score yet, so please send that to me. Botany won against Avondale. Howard dropped 60 points on One Tree Hill. St. Paul's College, I think some of those league boys, most of the league boys are playing in First 15 now, which is really good. We get to see those kind of guys. They beat Waitakere 38-5, which is kind of what I picked St. Paul's to win by a bit, but I didn't think it was going to be 38-5. I didn't think that was going to be a score. Maclean's College beating Mount Roskill 35-17. I think Howick, Botany, and Maclean's are probably the teams to beat. I think along with Otahu would be the ones that I would probably pick right now for that top four. Wesley lost in the CNI. Wesley lost to Lindisfarne College, and they had to stop that game earlier. There was like a really big injury, so I hope he's all right. Francis Douglas comes up with another loss. They've had New Plymouth Boys, Fielding, and St. John's College Hamilton pretty much in a week. Those are the first three games, and just three hard games, and they just haven't been able to get through them. And it's not an easy thing. So I understand the losing streak that they're on, but they are a good side. And I think they'll find their wins somewhere. I think they'll find their wins throughout this year. Fielding, St. John's played really good against Fielding, only going down by 10 points, 22-12. And counties, I went to the Alfriston and Tuaco game, which is different. Obviously a different speed, different level, different skill sets, different kind of players and types of players and stuff like that. But still, I always find the few guys that I would like to see play different levels. And I think that they would be okay if they went to those levels. So that was a pretty good game. Pukekohe is probably the other school that people need to watch out for. Pukekohe High School, they scored 108 points on their fiddle. But like everyone go, well, that's 108 points against a team that's like most likely terrible, but that's still 108 points. That's still a lot of points. So I think that they could be. I think Pukekohe should probably play in the 1B. Against Botany Downs and Howick and stuff like that, and they actually beat Howick in the preseason in some of their games. And so if they played a real game, you'll probably see the same kind of result. And so I think Pukekohe needs to be one of those teams that needs to be watched out for this year as the year goes on. Coming down to Waikato, Fraser High School played, lost against St. John's College 2nd 15. Cambridge played, and they beat St. Paul's 2nd 15. Matamata beat one of the Hamilton Boys 2nd 15s. Matamata won 53-5, which is really, really good. And Matamata's got a pretty good team. And these are all just grading games as well, so they're going to find out where everyone lands. Te Awamutu College won. Tikawiti High School won. I haven't seen the Tokoroa score yet. Morrinsville lost. I haven't seen a Malville score yet. Taumaranui lost 1921 to the Kaukaroa, which is a combined team, I think it is. Patalunu won against Fairfield College 37-0. And so they're going to start finding all their divisions and who they're going to be playing throughout the year. So that's going to be pretty good too. It's going to be something cool to watch out for. Hauraki Plains, they beat Whangamata, and Waihi College beat Mercury Bay. I think Pyro, Waihi, and Hauraki Plains are probably the 3 top teams in that, and probably the ones to beat. Western Heights beat Mount Maunganui College, which is really good. Te Taumata lost to Rotorua Boys Colts team. Kari lost to Trident. Trident's actually a really good team, along with Taupuanui College, who just lost to the second 15 of Rotorua Boys, who are really, really good as well. But I think those two are probably the main schools. I think Western Heights is one of the main schools, and this is the Bay of Plenty Bill Hill Cup Division 1. I would look for Western Heights, Trident, and Taupuanui College are probably the 3 main ones in there that I really like. Muay Thai College is the other one that is pretty good in that Sam Cane Cup. Maybe should move up, but that's kind of just the way that they did it then. I guess their divisions. They beat Tarawera High School. Whakatane lost to Tauranga Boys third 15. Te Puke won over the under 16s Tauranga Boys. Inglewood High School drew with Francis Douglas second 15. Howard High School beat Waitara, and Howard is like one of those teams as well. Kind of like Pukekohe, where I think that they should be maybe in a different competition because of, I guess, the good returning players that they have back from last year. And like I said before, like I've said in other videos, that they had a good group of under 16 players that played in the Taranaki under 16s and have all come back to Howard. And I think they just need bigger games for them to get better. I think they have the squad. I think they have the really good players. They just need more competition. Down to Wellington. So I was saying everyone who wins, they go into the first division. And so they've got Porirua, who just beat Aotea College 31-29. So Porirua going through. Mana College beat Paraparaumu College 57-5. So they go through. Hibs beat Tawa, like I said before, 45-19. They're going through. Then St. Bernard's beat Wairarapa College 42-14. So that's St. Bernard's, Hibs, Mana College, Porirua College, and they'll be joining Wellington, Rongotai, St. Pat's Town, Silver Stream, and Scots. And I think that's all of them in there. And if I'm missing someone, then someone's going to hit me up and go, bro, you don't even know what you're talking about. So you can fill us in. That Miles Toyota, St. Thomas has got their 3rd win in a row, which is really good. They're looking really strong now. Their 4-pack is a big pack. They need to get more active, but I like what they've got right now. I like what they're doing right now and the way that they're controlling their pack. And so they've had a good win against Marlborough Boys, who I thought were a really good team too. And so that's a really good win that they got 32-23. Christ College is just like Pukekohe College. They both scored 100 points this week, beating Mid Canterbury. The first 100 points of the season, Pukekohe scoring 108, and Christ College scoring 100 points against Mid Canterbury. Rangiora High School, they beat Aoraki combined 21-10. Shirley Boys had a good win against Selwyn Lincoln College 40-3. Now St. Kevin and Dunstan was a really good game. I've seen heaps of clips. I wish someone, if you can send it to me, please send it to me, because I really want to watch that game. Dunstan won 29-28, but it was just a lot of back and forth, and so it's just one of those games I really want to see. So if someone can send it to me, I'll be so flipping happy to watch that game. Waitaki Boys, I thought were going to beat Otago Boys 2nd 15. They went down 27-24. I think they're going to do better. I think Waitaki's on the rise again. They're on the rise right now, so they're going to get some really good scores coming through. Wakatipu beat Otago combined 17-10, which I think was going to be a little bit more, but that's just how it turned out. South Otago beat Mountain Aspiring College 23-19, which I think is an upset, because Mountain Aspiring is really good. And I think they have a squad, and they lost to South Otago High School. Down in Southland, the under-18 first 15 competition, James Hargis College lost to Southland Boys 2nd 15, 65-10. Menzies College lost to Verdon College 31-7. So that's all the games from this weekend. I'm going to start doing the rankings, making sure that everything is as close to as possible as I can get, but the whole country is starting to shape into what I see are going to be consistent top 100 teams, also top 25 teams, top 50 and top 75. So everyone's kind of falling into their place now, and I can see how good competitions are going to be and whose competition is starting to look better than the others. Super 8 sort of leading right now in my mind of what competition is the best, closely with the 1A. I think Wellington College, then it would be the Miles. Oh my gosh, Toyota Miles, the one from Christchurch competition. I think they'll probably be third. Close by would be the CNI competition. Then I'll change that around. Wellington competition, close by CNI competition, North Harbour competition will be the next one after that. And so everything's starting to look good. Thank you for listening and for staying this long. I'm sorry it was that long. I'll try and do this a little bit better with some timestamps and stuff to make it easy to navigate through. Also, if you stayed this long and you're hearing this now, I've got some quick subjects coming up that I'm thinking of, and I just put it out for those that have attention span of a squirrel. So I'll put out some little short ones just for everybody else, right? Herschel Fruin, peace.